The Catholics of Oz is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit GiveStarQuest.com.
You're listening to episode 155 of The Catholics of Oz. The Catholics of Oz is a show where we discuss faith, culture, and what's been happening from an Aussie perspective. Whether it's synods or science, apostolates and apps, providence or productivity, you can hear it right now on The Catholics of Oz. Hello, I'm Lindsay Sant, and welcome to episode 155. It is so good to have you with us, and I am not alone. I'm joined by my sciencey sister, Caroline Knight. Caroline, how are you today?
I'm okay, thank you. Mostly okay. You can hear I've got a bit of a sniffle going on, but all right, thanks. We're in the beginning of winter. The only good thing about winter is all the mushrooms are coming out and I can take photos of them. That's great.
Of course, yeah. I've seen your happy fungus photos. It's all happening now, isn't it? Yeah.
So good.
While you fight germ warfare at your home with, with your kids and all the colds going around. Yeah. Catholics of Oz is not a contagious podcast, everyone, so you are safe to
just contagious with joy.
Yeah, that's it. And my googly, frustrated brother from another, Lino Sabol. Lino, how are you today?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to all our listeners. Hey, Caroline. Hey, Lindsay. Yes, I have no comment about Google. That's all. That's all I just say. Every time every time you have an update for your computer, you have to sign into everything. It's really just it's a verification for yourself. It is what it is. So I got into there. So yeah. Hey, I've been doing good. Actually, yeah, like Caroline said, winter's coming. Yes, people, you can hear the Game of Thrones thing coming to your head. Yes, when I say that, yes, winter is coming. But yeah, it's been good. It's been good. Just a quick recap for the whole week. I went to the game last night with Essendon versus Richmond. We were Dreamtime at the G. So we celebrate Sir Nicholas. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I totally apologise if I can't pronounce the Aboriginal person who we play to represent him. Sir Nicholas Round. I can't. Sir Nicholas.
Yeah, and because when this podcast comes out, it will actually be the end of Reconciliation Week. When we're recording, it's actually the beginning of Reconciliation Week here in Australia. So yeah. So that would have been an amazing match. I'm afraid to ask because I haven't checked.
Wow.
How did Essendon?
They did well, Caroline and Lindsay, but it's hard when you lose 3 players in the first quarter with injury. Oh. Yeah. Look, a lot of people, I don't know how even half of them were even listening to the radio. That's why I like to listen to the radio while I'm watching the game, whichever game it is, basketball, blah, blah, blah. Because I know there's people saying, people go, you're losing. Because it's hard when you got 3 people out. And yeah, Essendon were doing okay, but they only lost by 3 goals. So it wasn't too bad. I expected Richmond to just...
Better than usual.
Yeah, well, that's a tight game because I expected Richmond to kick more.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It's true. I expected Richmond to kick more goals. It just roll on. But for Essendon's effort, they kept them going. And the atmosphere was great. Usual, wow, public transport. Wow, that is changed. Well, thank goodness when it's so squashed like sardines. Is it Japan,
it's free
guys?
Right now too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's free. So that was great.
At the moment, it's free. So
yes, during May. Yeah. So thanks to our was it government, not federal.
Premier. Yeah, it's a cost of living measure for another month or 2.
I think it's just a month, sadly. And then,
but then it's half price for the rest of the year.
Half price for the rest of the year.
Yeah, which is good. That's good. Yeah. Good for us train people because my son loves the train, so we're on it nearly every weekend. Yeah.
It's so different, guys. Sorry, guys. Transport's so different. We'll put on to one of those newer trains that our taxpayers have paid.
Hey, look, it is. That's I know now.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yep. They're very good trains.
Frank, you can tell you we're all about trains.
Yeah.
No, very nice. Very nice. Smooth. It sounds true. And I think somehow something happened in one of the stations and, over 1,000 people had to pop out of this train because it was just something happened on the train. I think there was an emergency. And we hopped onto another train. Yeah. It was back to the old days, wasn't it? And I knew, I know this train.
Okay, yeah.
Watching, yep. All the shaky shake, whichever the thing. I was like, I know this guys. And you can see all the young ones walking around with their phones on the phone. I know you're just going, I know this guys. You're right. Come on.
That's what we used to go. Yeah, that's what we used to ride. Yeah.
That's right. You gotta go with the groove. Shaky trays. Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's roll on because I think today's episode is going to be a bit of a long one, and I'll explain why soon. So, first of all, if you're new to listening to the Catholics of Oz, welcome. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcast player. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and some positive feedback so that we can hear from you and so that we can reach new people, which is what we are all about. SQPN also hosts the Catholics of Oz on YouTube, so you can search for SQPN there. You can subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell to get notifications when new episodes of this show and all of the other great shows on the network are released. So, guys, let's dive straight in. We are going to be beginning with Faith Beyond Borders.
Well, I'm actually feeling rather good about this. I think we've all arrived at a very special place, eh? Spiritually, ecumenically.
How do you make somebody love you without affecting free will?
Welcome to my world, son. You come up with an answer to that one, you let me know.
Yes, I had to work very hard to pass Latin and theology.
Oh, quite. Those are, of course, the most important things.
Oh, yeah.
I'd sit this one out, Cap.
I don't see how I can.
These guys come from legend. They're basically gods.
There's only one God, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
Here we go. I'm looking forward to sharing this one. Let's introduce it this way. Have you guys heard of the YOUCAT at all?
No.
You're allowed to say no if you're not sure. Yep. That's okay, because you're about to find out what it is. So basically, around World Youth Day 2008, the YOUCAT, the people who published the YOUCAT, they came up with this idea. You know what the Catechism of the Catholic Church is, though?
Definitely.
Right. Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
No, of course now, put it this way. If you took the catechism as it is right now and put it into the hands of, say, your teenager or your teenager, probably not going to read and understandably, it's a heavy book, right? It's good that we have it.
Yeah, definitely, but it's heavy reading. It's not heavy.
Yeah, so the beautiful thing about the YOUCAT is that the mission of the YOUCAT was to create a catechism for young people.
Good.
So the first book that came out in the series is just called the YOUCAT, and it's like a yellow book, and it's about A5-ish size, and it's not as thick. It's probably about a quarter of the size of the actual Catechism of the Catholic Church, if not a bit smaller.
Nice.
But what it does is it takes the catechism and all of its content, and it condenses it into something that young people can read, and you can read it from start to end if you want to. You can look it up as a reference and things like that. It's been used for teaching. It's been used for in all kinds of different ways. And it's great because it's very interactive in the way that it's set up. It's not just a plain paragraphs of reading. There's all kinds of interactive things you can look at and references to other things and quotes from important people and cartoon things in it. So it's set up really well as a catechism. But they didn't stop there. They produced some other products as well. For example, they produced the YOUCAT, right? And the YOUCAT is about Catholic social teaching. So what you do with your faith, so understanding the social teaching of the church. They released one that I'm currently in love with called YOUCAT for Kids. And this one is one that it's for children. And the beauty of it, the thing I really love, because my wife Isabel tested it out. When we received it. So our guest Michael Murphy was very kind to send a couple of preview copies of this book. Yeah. The YOUCAT for children, sat down with my 8-year-old, Alexander, and we were going through it together. And the questions are short. The explanations are simple.
Oh, wow.
It's just a beautiful way to talk about faith with your children.
Yes. Without diving too deep into the...
Yeah, so it's not so deep that it's inaccessible, but it's not so shallow that that there's no content. So it's beautifully set up. So, and I'm actually still doing that now, which I love. I'm actually sitting with him still and going through this catechism just over time. There's no rush, right? You can just do it slowly. And the discussions that you have and the questions you have. So, and the reason why I'm excited to share this interview with Michael that's coming up is because parents, if you're looking for ways to things that can create spaces for you to talk about faith with your kids, this is a beautiful way to do it. And then there's another product that they've just released, and it's all about marriage and relationships. And the way that it's written, it's sensitive in the sense that it can be for anyone. It doesn't need to be just for Catholics. Obviously, Catholic teaching, and for young Catholics, it's really good. But someone who is not a Catholic could pick it up, and they're invited to read about Catholic teaching on love and marriage in a way that's accessible and just a beautiful way to present our faith in that area as well. So I'm very excited to be sharing with you all now my interview with Michael Murphy from Freedom Publishing, and it's all about the YOUCAT products. So let's get started. I am very fortunate today to be chatting with Michael Murphy from Freedom Publishing, and we're going to be having a chat about that and about the YOUCAT and some other things. But firstly, welcome to the Catholics of Oz, Michael.
Yeah, thanks. It's great to join you, Lindsay. It really is an honour. So, really looking forward to sharing some details about what we do and how we go about things, and sharing it with your listeners. So, we're looking forward to it.
Excellent. I'm really looking forward to it too. So before we begin though, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience? So can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and also about Freedom Publishing?
Okay. I'm the owner of Freedom Publishing Books. We're a Catholic publisher that's based in Bayswater, suburb of Melbourne, Australia. We've been publishing books for 12, 13 years now. We've got a couple of imprints. We promote local authors, generally priests or pastors from different congregations who have a book or a manuscript that they've published. We vet it and we publish it into those particular groups. So that's called Coventry Press. But our main line of work our main imprint is called Freedom Publishing Books. Now, we took over this company 13 years ago. We import the best-selling books from the United States and from Europe, from the big Catholic publishers around the world. We also translate some of the books that have been recently published from St. Paul's. They're written in Italian, from Milan, and also from the Vatican, from Lev, the Lev publisher. So we have translators working for us. But we like to bring some of these great treasures, some of these great books that are published in the Catholic world to Australian readerships. That's one of the great things that Freedom Books does. But perhaps our biggest line is the YOUCAT suite of products. Now, these books are produced by the YOUCAT Foundation in Germany. Originally, they started with the YOUCAT, which is a catechism aimed at and marketed toward the youth. Some concerned parents in Germany approached the Archbishop of Vienna, Christoph Schönborn, about the catechism and what's the best way to teach their children. And they thought that the catechism of the Catholic Church, which had not long been released, was quite dense and it wasn't that accessible to their children. Mm-hmm. So they thought children aren't interested in learning from a book such as this, and it was difficult for teachers and everyone. So they wanted something that was more relatable for the young. So they set about, under the guidance of Pope Benedict or Cardinal Ratzinger at the time and Christoph Schönborn, a whole group of educators, theologians, and they put together a new system, a question and answer system of explaining the faith in a beautiful and vivid way, in a way that makes it easily understood, but it's presented in such a way that it's reasonable to think this and to believe this. So it's been a runaway success. It's the best-selling book in the Catholic world outside the Bible, I've been told. It's been printed in 32 different languages. We've reprinted it here in Australia 23 times.
Wow.
It's gives us great satisfaction that a lot of people who have inquired about the great treasures of the Catholic faith have been able to discover its richness and all its beauty in this particular book. It's a labour of love for us. But from that one book, other resources have grown. 4 or 5 years after that, they produced one on the social teachings of the Catholic Church. Now, This is one of the Catholic Church has so many great treasures, and some of them are secret or are hidden unnecessarily, not on purpose, of course. But that compendium on the social teachings of the Church, or what Catholics should do, is called the YOUCAT. Again, it's in that question and answer format. And again, it quotes the Catechism, quotes the YOUCAT, and all the official Church documents that relate to its social teaching. And it beautifully and again vividly explains what the Church teaches in all these areas of the family, in politics, the environment, bioethics. It basically gives you a snapshot of what the Church and what Catholics should do. So that's a beautiful book. And from there, they produced a resource for the youth on how the Church prays, the YOUCAT prayer book. And this is another beautiful book, and it has all the prayers of the Church. It has the Psalms, the Our Father, the Hail Mary, and it really gives a great snapshot of how the Church prays and the beautiful liturgical traditions that the Church lives out. and they're very brief. It's question and answer again. And so it really, you don't have to be a great intellectual or a bibliophile to have access to this knowledge, which gives this beautiful understanding. But it's there and it's front and centre in all these products. And then from there, they produced the next one they produced was the YOUCAT for kids. This perhaps is one of my favourites. I love them.
I agree.
all.
Yes, I agree. It's one of my favourites too. Yes.
Yeah, I could. Someone described me as being like a young mother talking about their baby. I could talk about it all day long about these books. But the YOUCAT for kids is particularly touching for me. This one was put together by young educators and was born out of some questions that were raised by parents on how they could better teach their children the faith. Now, some of these parents don't know everything about the faith and they needed assistance. So again, they got to work and they formulated a beautiful series of questions that came from very young people. Now, this one is aimed, the YOUCAT for kids is aimed at an age group from, say, 5 up to 13. But you know what, I think it's great for everybody. It's beautifully understood. It's aimed at parents as well. And the parents who requested this, and from their request that this was born, it helps them understand and deepen their faith as well. We're fully aware that it's difficult for school teachers to teach the faith and to impart the faith when perhaps they don't have that faith taught to them at home or a lived experience with which they can share. Now, it's becoming more evident, and there's some interesting things happening around the world with the rise in adult baptisms, particularly in France and parts of the United States. And we've read that perhaps there's a role that grandparents are having in the transmission of this faith. Now, what does this mean and how's this coming about? I think when we age and become more senior in years, we grow in wisdom and understanding about the nature of love and what's in front of us, what we believe, and above all, what we hope for. What we hope for our grandchildren and those that we love, and to have those beautiful conversations with them about these very important subjects. And I think that particularly grandmothers are having a bit of a role in these great conversations with people. Who can young people trust with all the marketplace of ideas, what people should do, how they should think, what they should have, how they should look. But really, to hear something from someone that loves them and their grandparents, someone they can trust, is a great opportunity. And this particular product enables those great conversations. It helps a grandparent, helps a parent. We've been through great changes in the church, and I think parents, adults of a certain age have more or less walked off the reservation, if I can say that, through one reason or another. They become indifferent to it. But the memory of culture and of faith is deposited in some of the elderly grandparents, and they're passing that on. So that's a really important function. And so I'm really delighted that we can contribute to that spot, to that place that's really dear to people's hearts. And I like showing a lot of those. I enjoy standing up in front of people, talking to them about that. And it's important. It gives us great reason to hope and to believe and to love. And if we can enable those conversations, we're in a good spot. So that's what we're trying to do. So another thing that's coming out in some of the data about some of these adult conversions, getting it from different sources, and some of them, people are loosely connected to the faith. They might come from the parents might be practicing or the grandparents, and they've decided to get married in a church. And once they develop a richer and a clearer understanding of what the church teaches about married love, some people are coming back to the faith. And that's really quite inspiring. So that brings us to the next book. The next one, a father with 10 children here that keep coming. I love each one of those books. But this book too, it really speaks to the aspirations of people's hearts, and that is to be loved forever. And what the church teaches about the sacramentality, about the potential, even be married and faithful to someone for a lifetime, and the beauty that's in that promise. I think marriage rates today are in free fall, but people don't even have that understanding or appreciation of what marriage can be. So I think the church and the community of believers, we have a great responsibility, I think, to show people that this is possible in their relationships. They're fulfilling and emotionally sustaining relationships where people love each other. That's where people need to get to. That's what they all want to get to.
Yeah.
But how do you do it? And it's difficult. So I think that's a great service. That's the last book that we've translated this book into English. And we were the first ones in the world to do it, to get it into English. So we're very proud of that fact. And we're busy going across Australia, speaking to different groups and speaking to it. But it's easy to do because you're speaking about what people really want. And I'm getting some interesting questions.
Yes, I bet.
From different people. Wow, I never knew that. And how does this happen? What can I do?
Yeah.
And or how can I have more confidence? Some of these people are so, there's so much trepidation about entering into long-term relationships with good understanding. We can all see that because of what they see around them. But this one, it really brings a lot of hope to people, and it's worth every consideration. So I'm starting to sound like a salesman now.
No, that's okay. No, that's a wonderful overview of everything that YOUCAT has, because I think people who listen to this, they might say, wow, that one's really for me, or maybe not this one, but this one really is. So depending on their circumstances, you've described different types of people. Because the last one you talked about was Love Forever, I might just start a conversation about that. I do want to get to the others as well. But I was reading just the first chapter in the opening and Pope Francis's introduction to Love Forever as well. But part of the introduction said there's the vows of a Catholic marriage. There's some really deep commitments going on there, right? We don't just say 3, 5, 7 years. We say your whole life. And it means committing to looking after your spouse when they're sick and being together through all the difficulties and everything. And then the intro was also saying, I'm just going from memory here, but it was so about, then there's these presentations of love and marriage from social media influencers and from romantic movies and TV shows and so on. And it presents everything as perfect. And then you look at the real world and it doesn't look perfect. And then there's that question, and it states the question, it says, is it better not to get married maybe because it looks so difficult? And Pope Francis, it quotes him talking about how we can't abandon young people to this question. We actually have to do something for them. And that's why he promotes Love Forever as such an important resource. And I think he was talking about what we need is a catechumenate for marriage. We actually, not just he says, not just a 3 or 4 session course, but something a lot more involved in walking people through their marriage. And he recommends the text for that reason as part of that catechumenate. I thought that was quite amazing. What do you think are the benefits of Love Forever for people who are considering a Catholic marriage?
Okay, well, I think the great treasure is in it that it presents a way of understanding marriage that's not presented. They don't encounter this in modern secular life. I think modern relationships have become, I don't know, I think transactional perhaps is the word.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's in it for me if I don't love a person? I'll love you until it's not working properly. Or as long as I get fulfilled, it doesn't present the full picture, the full understanding of the nature of a person and basically where we're all headed and why that's so important. These things have to be worked at, and the nature of love is to give and to serve. Where it's not all about taking, and he's very clear about this. The beauty of it is that everyone has this ability to do that, but you've got to understand it in the right way. If it doesn't have that sacrificial component to it or an attitude of service to the other, you're going to struggle, and these inevitable pitfalls, and they won't be just pitfalls, they'll be big obstacles. But to share them with someone you love, with a spirit of sacrifice and service toward the other and towards your family, and to understand the big picture that we're humans on a spiritual journey, that changes everything. And you can see it in that light. And the wonderful examples of couples that have been married, they're seemingly forever. I shouldn't say seemingly. It goes quickly when you're having fun. But it's wonderful that is possible. And this is the reason why. It's a covenant. You're a bond. And you're committed to a person. And that commitment brings a type of liberation. You're free to be yourself. And that's amazing, where it's as opposed to I'm going to love you until I don't like you anymore. No, I'm going to love you even if I don't like, even if with your rough edges, and we've all got them. It's deeper, it's stronger. And this book gives you guidelines and guide rails on how to deepen and strengthen what is potentially possible between two people. So that it's, even the notion of romantic love, that comes from Christian thinking. It's not just an economic thing, or it's not a transaction. We'll share a bed, we'll share bank accounts, and we'll get by that way. But no, this is more. It opens up the possibility of what it can be, and that's why it's so dear to Pope Francis. He's very touching. I don't know if you read the foreword, which appeared in the New York Times and some of the big European dailies just before he died. One of the last things he did was write the foreword to this book.
Right. Yes.
And it's very moving.
Yes.
We put a video together for it, but it's what he hopes for. And I think in our relationships, there's always a great element of hope. Even when we date people, you're really dating a stranger. You don't know a person, but in that person, you're almost projecting a type of hope, the person you hope them to be, the one that you're looking for that's going to answer your needs or what you understand is the ideal person. But I don't know, deeply embedded there's an element of hope. But when that hope is joined together, and you hope together and you pursue the most important things in life, the meaning of the world, which is love, when you pursue it together, it just I don't know, it just changes everything.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really like an adventure. I've been married for 18 years, and like you said, it goes by so quickly. It's like my wife and I were saying, I can't believe it. 18 years already has gone by. It feels like we were just married yesterday in a way, but
just getting started.
Just getting started, yeah. Yeah. And actually with a 6-month-old after 18 years, we do feel like we're starting all over again. Yeah. I flicked through Love Forever, and the range of questions was really interesting. And I say that in a good way, because it doesn't just talk about what is love and what is marriage, but it also talks about the risks of choosing not to love. It talks about things. I saw there were some questions about what happens if I break up with someone, and it talks about some of the risks that come along with love as you're trying to find your partner for life, your spouse, if that's the vocation that someone's being called to. How was it that these kind of questions were the ones that were chosen? Like, how did it come about that the producers of this book thought these are the questions we really want to present to people who are thinking about marriage and about love?
Okay. Yeah. Again, this is one of the great secrets. It's the great method that they used. And all these points are speaking to questions that young people have. Now, from 30 different countries, there's 1,000 questions were presented about young people about this subject. So they're speaking to what people need to hear and want to hear and want to understand. And they're speaking to, because a lot of people got a lot of questions about this. That's perfectly normal, and they're great. So you can have great conversations about this. But also, a lot of people have a lot of fear about it as well, because it's unknown and there are risks involved because they see the potential for pain and for hurt. It's there. There's no question about it. But with all things great, there are risks. And it does. It speaks to them very candidly and very sympathetically and with great sensitivity, because some people, or all of us, have questions. We have doubts. No one is blessed with certainty. And some of those that are blessed with certainty, that can be a little bit misleading at times too. So it's got a very realistic sort of countenance to it, this book. Even I've spoken to a couple of young people, or not yet, a couple of young people, but I've been struck by a couple of them and said, we just talk about the nature of relationships. I sometimes feel like I'm Dr. Phil, but I'm not the last person in the world talking about these subjects. But some people say, they don't have confidence that relationships aren't for them. And that's particularly sad, because I think, everyone can be a great friend, and everyone is important, and everyone's got the capacity to do it. But some people don't understand themselves in that way, which is really sad. But I said, this book is a blessing. And by a blessing, the word blessing comes to speak well from the Latin, from its Latin origins. It really means to have a blessing is to speak well of someone in the core of their being, at the deepest level, you're a good person. It's the ultimate type of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways, that's what this book does to people. And all of us are flawed, all of us are failed, but still, notwithstanding that, everyone can love and everyone can be loved. And that's the message that I think comes through this book. So everyone who's made mistakes, no one is perfect. And it tells us how to navigate these things and do it in a loving way with another person. That's one of the great beauties of this book. So you don't get that. Where else do you get that information? So I think it's a wonderful resource, and it presents an understanding and say, listen, this is the path for us. We've got to look at these issues. Let's talk about this. We'll be stronger. We'll be better for it. And it does. It's like a great friend. Yeah, it's wonderful. It really is. It really opens people's eyes. Some people are a bit confronted by it, but the church has got it teaches these things for a reason. So there's plenty in that book. So hopefully it will. It's engendering some beautiful conversations, some very necessary conversations between couples.
Yeah.
And one priest is saying he thinks every couple should have it. All the people that he's marrying, he's recommending it, but also he's recommended to people who have been married for a number of years, because the questions keep coming.
Yep.
And it helps all those people in ways you would never think about. For instance, there's one section there about prenuptial agreements.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, of course, any sort of generous, trusting person, you think they're not necessary, and do you have faith in this person? But you could also turn it around, say, let's make one, but if I leave, you get everything, sort of thing. So you can understand these things or do these things in a different way for different understanding.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm saying that you've got to do one, mate, but but it's just a different approach. I thought, I hadn't thought about it that way. But I think the church has got a great role to play, a great example to set, and it should, without fear or favour, teach and proclaim the beauty of human love and marriage and the sacrament of marriage. Because it's wonderful. It's what the core competency of the church is to preach on the nature of love and make human beings more capable of love. That's.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember if it was the first chapter, but it said how many religions are based around the nature of love. It was talking about that quite beautifully when it goes into it.
Yes, I was having a flick through just before we went on air, and I saw that question, and I said, yes, that's right.
That's it. Yeah,
that's right. So it is, absolutely. And I remember reading once a book about how the secret of the Western world and how it was what drove its success. And they interviewed some of the leading members of the Communist Party, and they looked in China, and they looked into why was the West so successful. And they said it's economic system, it's military, it's take on science. It was all those things, but they came up with this high-level investigation it was their religion.
Right.
And their religion enabled emotionally sustaining relationships. Doesn't that sum it up? So emotionally fulfilling and sustaining relationships. That's from the people who are outside the Christian religion, and they've looked into it, and experts have come up to say, well, this is what's going on, this is what happens.
Yeah.
So,
incredible. Yeah. And I pick up on another point you made before. I do like because there are obviously in our day and age, the issues that it does talk about can be seen as sensitive and for some people possibly even confronting, but it's good that the book is sensitive in the way it approaches the questions. So it's not saying you must do this, you must do that, but it says this is why we believe what we do. And there's reasons for it rather than simply stating here it is step by step. But it seems to be written in a way that invites people to think about it. So, all right, you may say someone who disagrees with some of the content in there. The way it's written, instead of saying you disagree, sorry, too bad, it seems to be written in a way that says, okay, disagree, but here is the reason why. At least walk away with the reason why we believe what we do about love and marriage and relationships and so on. So I do the language, the way whoever's crafted it has put the wording together of those explanations.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, there's a strong element of morality there to answer the aspiration of what's in people's hearts. It's there to help people grow spiritually. That's what morality does. Now, I think the church over the last 100 years has been too quick to give guidance and say, no, we say, But you got to reinforce it with a yes. This is why we think that. This is what the church recommends. And it does so in a very sensitive and gives people a clear understanding. It understands how someone who is outside the church can be totally affronted by, or most people inside the church can be really challenged by these things. And I think this book and the people who put it together can understand that, can see that in young people. That's why there's a lot of great raw honesty in this, because it'll have a loving conversation. No, this is what the church teaches, and this is why. This is so, and it's perfectly reasonable. Looking at all the different options, so it is perfectly reasonable to understand things this way and to believe in these things that it teaches. And it does so in a great style, and it's like a friend talking to a friend.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a third-party friend talking about the nature of your relationship with someone.
Yeah. Yeah, and the conversation starters, like you said, for if a couple is using it together or whether they're married or considering marriage, I think that's a big advantage as well. I wanted to talk about the two other products in particular, the YOUCAT for Kids and the original YOUCAT. I might start with the original one just to go with, and we'll get into YOUCAT for Kids soon.
Yep.
So a little brief story. So when I was very young, I don't think I was even a teenager yet, I remember at Mass, my parish priest saying there's this book called the Catechism that's coming out. It's great, and it explains everything about the faith and so on. And I remember that he then bought a whole bunch of copies, and I don't remember if he gave it out to families. I think he gave out one per family. And as a young person, the way he pitched, I thought, that sounds really interesting. It's something that explains the faith, can understand better. And I remember just being young and seeing the book for the first time going, oh my goodness, this is bigger than the Bible. It's the whole catechism of the Catholic Church. As an adult, I can appreciate it now. I can read it and no problem. And it wasn't until I think it was 2008 when I first encountered the YOUCAT when I was at World Youth Day. So I took a group of about 30 young people from my parish, and they gave them out for free, basically. So they were giving out YOUCATs left, right, and center to everyone. And I was already a high school teacher at the time, just I think I was only 2 years or so, or 2 or 3 years into teaching. And when I encountered the YOUCAT, which was the first book that started this whole line of products off, I was amazed at the simplicity, but the depth at the same time of the explanation to all these questions. And I thought, this is great because the catechism itself is a great text, but there's a big barrier to entry if you're a teenager, right? You're going to look at that book and go, where do I even start, right?
Absolutely, yes. Yep.
Yeah. So the YOUCAT is great because it appeal to young people, but even, again, the language used, because the catechism itself is quite churchy in its language, and you need to sit with it for a while to really understand the wording of it. Whereas the YOUCAT is...
That's right. That's right. You don't want a prelate speaking Vaticanese to you. You want someone that can explain things in a language that is that can move you, though, but you've got to understand it. And that's the beauty of the YOUCAT suite of products. It's the question and answer. A lot of these all the questions were formulated by young people around each particular issue. They had psychiatrists working on this, they had priests, they had bishops, and they tried to develop this formula again and again. It took them years to get there, but they did it. How it refers people on, and just the basic nature of the questions, and it's almost like a bit like a conversation. That's the great beauty of it. So it's beautifully resourced, beautifully written, but the thought behind it was startling, really. It's magnificent. So that's why it's done such a wonderful job.
Yeah, and it's been around for quite some time now, being the YOUCAT being the first book in the series. Do you have any stories, examples, anecdotes of success stories of how it's used, in whether it's in a parish setting, a school setting, a family setting, or even just feedback from people who have read it or looked at it, and just about how it has helped people with their faith?
Oh, I've had many, and people are saying, well, it's really made things clear for me, and I've become a Catholic. And a lot of young adults who have encountered, who are questioning. I think you've got to really be half interested in, or have a particular longing to get you to open a book. It's very difficult to get someone to buy a book unless someone's telling them what's in it or is a personal contact. So there's often a relationship involved, I think, in Christianity and religious evangelisation. It's very common that's there, that's present. But I've heard many people say they've come to the church because they can see, they can reasonably understand that this is reasonable to believe what it teaches. And I've heard numerous people say, too numerous to put a number on it, so they've really reawakened their faith. It's really rekindled the ember that was there. Life gets in the way, and modern secular values aren't exactly as encouraging of religious belief and practice. But through the highways and byways of life, they've come back, and hopefully they can continue to come back. But it's a great light. It's a great, what's the Psalm 21? It's a lamp for my feet and a light for my path. And that's what it does. And it lights up the most beautiful path imaginable. Yeah.
Yeah. Even the presentation of the pages, it's not just blocks of text. Like you said, it's question and answer. It has images, it has cartoons and drawings and all these things to dazzle the mind and keep you attentive to it as well. Having a look at it, I'd even say that even though it's written for young people, I reckon there are adults who would probably get a lot out of the YOUCAT itself as well. Is that a fair thing to say? Have you found that adults have picked it up and thought this is great too?
Absolutely, yeah. There's no restriction on who it can't reach, really, and up or down in terms of their age. I'm just looking at the back of the book now because all the popes have written ring endorsements for it. We put the forwards of Pope Benedict and Pope Francis on it. I'll read you a little snippet from one of Pope Francis's. He writes, "I invite you to read this book with confidence. In fact, I would dare to say, love this book, because it is the fruit of love. You will discover that it has no other purpose than to awaken or reawaken in you a great love for Jesus. This is its sole purpose." Well,
incredible.
That's going to get you into a book. Yeah, so that certainly will. So, yeah, and even Pope Benedict, one of the originators of and driving forces behind it, spoke so beautifully about the friendships that this enables. And he speaks so affectionately to the young people and getting them to know and to understand their faith, because he has every confidence they can do it. And when they do, the world and their lives really open up. So, it's had a lot of big backers, this book, and
yes.
Us at Freedom Books in our own little way will continue to do it. So,
yeah. Are you involved because I know that my son went to the Catholic Youth Festival last year. He ended up with a copy from being present as well. Is that through you, or does it in any way or any connection?
Yes, that came through us at Freedom Books. Aid to the Church in Need sponsored that initiative. And we're also printers, so we print them and manufacture them here in Australia. We've exported them to Africa and to India. And I must say, in terms of the personal anecdotes and feedback, we sent some YOUCAT for kids and some YOUCATs to Liberia.
Yep.
And it took forever to go to ships, had to go to Europe and come back. And we got there and went up every long, dusty old road in Liberia. But we got there, and the joy, he sent me some pictures of the village and all the people in it unloading these trucks of all these books. And they said it was the most joyous day that they can remember.
Wow.
And they're all dancing around with these books. So, one of these days I'm going to get to Liberia and take the surfboard and see if I can go over and catch up with these guys. But, the joy that it had and enable these teachers there to teach it and to spread the faith in Africa, it's been that's one of the great highlights, one of the great treasures and memories I've had of some of the work that we do. But on World Youth Day, they Aid to the Church in Need sponsored it, so we printed them here. We print and manufacture here. We've exported it all around the Pacific. So it's getting around. So it's our job to continue to put it. Yeah.
Hard to even imagine the impacts that has printing and sharing with all these places around the world, and the individuals that it touches is incredible to think about, really. That from what you're doing right here in Melbourne to share all around the world and impact people individually in their lives I think is just incredible. I wanted to talk to you now about this wonderful product that stood out to me, which is the YOUCAT for Kids that you were glowing about before as well. So I'll start with another anecdote. So we received a copy that you sent us to have a bit of a preview of as well. So I brought it home. My wife said, let me try this out. So she sat down with our 8-year-old and she just started going through a couple of pages with him. And I was just listening in the living room. I was just doing some things in the kitchen. And I was just listening, and the conversations that started with our 8-year-old was incredible because now my 8-year-old, he's at that age where he's quite inquisitive. So he's already said things to us. He said, when was God born? Or what existed? All these questions that kids, they're trying to work it out in their head, right? These innocently important, but really important questions as well. It's like I found, especially with our first son, is that you don't want to miss the opportunity when they have these questions and when they're curious, because there actually comes a time when they're less curious for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
So yes, they've got to get there while they're interested. So the book was good because I didn't know what was going to be in it to start with. And I was just listening to the conversation, and it starts with who made everything? Where did we come from? All these kinds of things. And who is God? And it's just incredible to hear the way that my 8-year-old was responding, how he was responding to what my wife was saying to him out of the book. So that mother and son conversation about faith, it just enabled something much deeper because it was there rather than not having it at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And we hear that a bit. The great conversations that can happen from the honesty of a child who's inquisitive. I gave it to one of my workers, one of the fellows that printed on it. He took it home, and his eldest daughter, was in grade 6, and she read the book. Yeah. I said, you sure she read it? The child read the book. He said she did. Yeah. And I said, now we know all about the Catholic faith as well. And I said, can you write me a review? And she wrote a beautiful review, and I took it over to the Frankfurt Book Fair, and they published it over there. Wow. But she said it really touched her life. It wasn't manufactured at all. It wasn't prompted by mum or dad. It was just at my simple request. And she said, now things are a lot clearer. I understand what the church teaches and who Jesus is and what the Bible teaches. And I thought, wow, man, that kid's got a great education. But yeah, it enables some really beautiful conversations. And even, I think it gives the parents confidence too. Yes. It's a little bit like, I would imagine, if you've got a really clever kid and he wants you to give him a hand with his advanced maths. Oh my God, the kid's smarter than me. How am I going to go with this? So you just avoid it a little bit. But it gives the parents the confidence to do because, it helps everyone. There's a beautiful book part in the back of the book that has a bit of a historical précis about the life of Christ, just some basic facts. And I thought, wow, this is really clear. And it gives the parents increased confidence that they can have and really carry off one of these great conversations with these children, because they can ask some real curly questions, but they. Yep. But I'm rapt to hear that and your wife enjoyed it with your child, and good.
Yeah. Another thing I'm also a teacher in my real life as well. So I'm always, when I look at a resource, I think, how is this useful or in this context or that one? So I was really curious about the fact that it had a section on the sacraments, which was great. So I and some other teachers at my school, we teach a subject called youth ministry. And the whole point of youth ministry is across year 10, 11 and 12. And what they do is they do projects around our campus, but then we also have started getting these students to go to primary schools and help the kids with their preparation for sacraments. They might run, for example, a half-day sacrament workshop for primary school children. And I was actually having a look at the description of some of the sacraments. I thought, my youth ministry students, this is perfect for them to have what a young child needs to know about the sacraments at that particular age. So there's so much else to know about the sacraments as you go through your life. It gets deeper and deeper. But what's the introductory early knowledge that they would need for these primary school kids? What if a primary school kid asks them a question and they have no idea how to answer, right? So I actually found that really useful. And I'm actually going to explore some ways about how I can introduce this to our students so that they can help with their explanation of the sacraments to these primary school kids they're working with. What do you think about that? Have you thought about that as a thing as well? Or?
That's amazing, because people have asked me about what books, what resources we have for sacramental programs. And I said, well, to what sort of degree? I said, an introduction to the sacraments is beautifully covered in the YOUCAT for Kids. And it really shines a very vivid light on the beauty of the sacraments. And you can have that discussion. It really gets the ball rolling. It's a great introduction. And some say it's just an introduction. I said, well, I don't know how much more you really need to know. But it can refer you on. But it does. It just puts everything front and centre. And these great little signs in life, signs of the greatness of the world and God and everything, they're in the sacraments. And it does. it presents it in a very vivid, I kept coming back to the word very vivid way.
Yeah.
So, but they're well done to everyone who put these together. So
yeah. Even the diagrams that go along with it, like there was the pages on the liturgy, the Eucharistic liturgy, and there are some diagrams that go with it. And because Eucharist is an amazing sacrament, but it can be quite complex. The idea that when you're at Mass, you are participating in the death and the resurrection of Jesus through the Mass. And how do you explain that to kids? And I was actually impressed with how simple but how accessible the book explains that too. So again, this will be something that I'll be using a lot in school with getting these kids ready to train these primary school kids. So yeah, as you said, it's a credit to them for how they've put it together. Clearly whoever put it together knows children and knows the kind of questions they're asking and how to access that. So yeah, that's
right. Even the pictures that are in it, they're in a sort of cartoon sort of stick figures.
Yes, yeah.
Even the two young children going through the whole book, it's a great journey and a great adventure. It paints it that way. Yeah. Even in the opening page, when who made the world, and you've got these two people, looks like they're standing on the moon, looking back at Earth. Thinking, it really triggers the imagination, and it's not just dense text. There's never very little dense text, but when St. Augustine wrote his Confessions asking some of these questions, like what God was doing before he made the world. But this sort of explains some of those beautiful answers and responses to those basic human questions, very important ones.
Yeah.
I often laugh at myself and what was God doing before he made the world? And I remember reading at St. Augustine's Confessions when I was 18 years of age. I thought, that's amazing. But in these little catechisms that you get some of these answers. It's amazing stuff. Yeah, I love it. So, but now I'd like more focus, and I think we're looking at different ideas on how we can reach grandparents and parents to have those conversations with their children. The beautiful conversations that are there to be had.
Yes.
So we're going to do everything we can. So, that's why I'm really rapt when I hear that your wife and your 8-year-old have gone through the book and had those great conversations. So, they really want that. So it does. Thank you.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of other parents who, if they get their hands on this, would be able to do the same as well. The parents, we know a lot, but we can still be intimidated by our kids' questions about faith. So having a resource like YOUCAT for Kids it's a good way to build a bit of confidence and just back you up a little bit. Yeah. Let's look that up together, something like that. Yeah. So look, the YOUCAT, like I said, since the first book came out, and since then there's been like the DOCAT on Catholic social teaching. There's this one for kids. Love Forever is coming out, and the prayer book, some of the books on sacraments, and clearly I'm sure they're thinking about other products they can put out as well. But for our listeners who may now be interested in thinking, I could really use a product like that, how can they access these? So what's the best way to get online and purchase a couple of these books?
Yeah, just go to freedompublishingbooks.com.au, and there's a website there. You can just order it through the website. We do have a warehouse in Bayswater. You're more than happy to call in and pay us a visit and meet some of our staff. But or just give us a call. We're happy to speak to anyone about it. So, but I'd go online and everything will be there.
Excellent. Michael, I'm so grateful for your time and for sharing about the YOUCAT. It's just, again, it's a product I've known about for years, just the yellow book, and I've come across some of the other books over time, but just to see how it's grown over the years now, like they haven't stuck with one thing, but they've clearly addressed a need. Now you're involved in distributing it and touching hearts in the way that you do. Is there anything else that you wanted to add before we call it a day with our discussion?
I don't know if you got the message that we love what we do. We love hearing how the faith can be transmitted from person to person and how faith grows. And I think it's, as Romano Guardini said, we're another link in a golden chain of friendship. And that's when the faith's been passed on. So we're happy to be one of those golden chinks. We think we are. So it's our job just to get that chain of friendship longer and stronger and brighter. And that's what we're about. So we're delighted to be here.
Excellent. Michael Murphy, thank you so much for sharing your passion for what you do and for just giving us an overview of the amazing YOUCAT products. And thank you so much for just being part of today's episode of The Catholics of Oz.
Good on you. Thanks. It's been a delight. It really has. So thanks for the great conversation, and may there be many more because of us and your efforts too. So well done. Thank you.
Thank you. So there it is. All the products that Michael was talking about, his babies, as he likes to describe them. He's so in love with these books. They're all at Freedom Publishing, and there'll be a link in the show notes about how you can find out more about those. Again, just a beautiful product for your families, for teachers as a reference guide, pulling out quotes for things that you teach potentially and things like that. So yeah, highly recommended the YOUCAT products. So with that in mind, we've got to keep going because we are going to be, I'm very sorry, way over time today, but we've got a good reason for that. But Caroline, we're going to throw over to you now because now we're going to talk about science.
What a fine day for science.
You have any hobbies?
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Can you reverse the polarity?
I'll do my best.
All right, Caroline. Yep, over to you. What are we discussing today?
I have a good one for you today. It's going to baffle a few people, but it's so interesting.
It normally does.
Yes. So,
It's good baffling. Yeah.
So I want to ask you, in the unfortunate case that you ever had a brain tumour, what would you think if your brain actually told you that you had it? I've actually read about an amazing case like this in Life Science from April this year. So it's not something that happened recently, but I thought this is too interesting not to talk about it. And it really shows how amazing the human brain is, right? So imagine you are sitting at home, you're just doing something mundane like reading a book, having a cup of tea. You've always been healthy. You don't really see the doctor very much. But suddenly a voice speaks inside your head. Now, it's not a thought. It's actually a voice, all right? It's a comforting voice, but it wants to tell you that you're in danger. And this actually happened to a lady who they're calling AB. Happened to her in London in 1984. And there's a well-known medical literature case that was published in December 1997 in the British Medical Journal. So it's the real thing that happened. And it was documented by her psychiatrist, Dr. Ike Chukwu Azionwe, and he titled it A Difficult Case, Diagnosis Made by Hallucinatory Voices. So, and what he wrote in his paper kind of sums it all up, but then we'll go through it. He said, this is the first and only instance I have come across in which hallucinatory voices sought to reassure the patient of their genuine interest in her welfare. They offered her a specific diagnosis. They directed her the type of hospital best suited for her survival, expressed joy at her recovery, and bid her farewell, and then disappeared. So Today we're going to unpack this case and have a look and see how it went. So AB was a woman born in continental Europe in the mid-1940s. She migrated and settled to Britain in the 1960s. She was a housewife, a mother, living a quiet life. She had no other history of psychiatric illness, no hospitalizations, etc. But then one day she's just sitting at home, minding her own business, having a cup of tea, when suddenly a voice came out of her head. Like I mentioned, it wasn't a thought, it was a voice, and it said, "Please don't be afraid. I know it must be shocking for you to hear me speaking to you like this, but it's the easiest way I could think of. My friend and I used to work at the Children's Hospital, Great Ormond Street, and we would like to help you." Okay. So AB was panicked, obviously. She'd heard of the hospital, but she'd never been there. She didn't know where it was. Her kids were perfectly healthy, so why would pediatric health workers want to talk to her from her head? So she got pretty scared. But the voices came back again, and they said to her, "To help you see that we're sincere, we'd like you to check the following." And then the voice proceeded to give her 3 separate, highly specific pieces of information that she absolutely had no way of knowing at the time. But she was terrified, she was curious, and she went and checked out these facts, and to her shock, every single one of them was accurate. But that didn't actually make her feel better. It made her feel worse. She kind of felt like she was losing her mind. So she thought, okay, I've gone mad. I need to see a psychiatrist. So she went to the hospital and she was referred to Dr. Onye, who was a psychiatrist at an outpatient clinic in London. So Dr. Onye, when he met AB, he did what any psychiatrist would do. He observed the patients experiencing distinct auditory hallucinations without any obvious triggers, and he diagnosed her with functional hallucinatory psychosis. So obviously he offered her support, some counselling, and prescribed some antipsychotic medication, and this seemed to work. So she took the medication, and to her relief, the voices went away. She's like, okay, I just had hallucinations. That's great. All right. She felt really great. And so she thought, you know what? Time to go on holiday. So they went on holiday, her and her husband. All right. But her brain had other plans. Okay. So while she was still taking her medication and she was overseas, the voices broke through. And they returned with a kind of urgency, and they said to her, she needs to pack her bags and return to England immediately. They said, you need to go back to the hospital. They gave her a definitive diagnosis, and they said, you have a tumour in your brain and that the brain stem is inflamed. Okay, so AB was like, okay, this is not good. I am losing it. All right. So she had delusionary hallucinations again. So she went back to Dr. Onye, and the voices this time hadn't just given her an anonymous warning, but they gave her a specific geographic destination. They said to her, this is the address in London. You must have a brain scan immediately. We'll give you the address where you must go. So her husband thought, okay, I'll take her to the hospital. He drove her to the address. They wanted to know exactly what this was, this address. When they got there, they realized it was a CT clinic, so, you know, at the hospital. And they sat outside the car in the clinic, and the voices told her, again, you need to go inside and your brainstem is inflamed. So she saw Dr. Onye the next day, because she was really panic-stricken by now, as you would be. Imagine that. So he was in a bit of a difficult position. So he performed a physical and neurological examination. He didn't find any clinical signs, no headaches, no visual disturbances, no reflex issues that would indicate there's a mass in her head. So, but he thought, look, out of compassion and just to help his client, to give her peace of mind, Dr. Onye wrote a letter to the hospital requesting a brain scan. And in this letter, he said that the scan was being requested because hallucinatory voices had diagnosed the patient with a tumour. But the radiology department initially declined the request. They said there was no clinical justification for such an expensive, resource-heavy investigation. They even said to Dr. Onye that he'd gone a little overboard by catering to the patient's delusions. But Dr. Onye persisted. So after a while, they did agree to perform the scan in 1985. Now, the scan actually showed something. It showed something unusual, and they did a follow-up with contrast. And in black and white, they found the truth, and it revealed a massive left posterior frontal paraphalcine mass extending through the falx to the right side of her brain. So she had a large meningioma. And there was a massive tumour sitting right inside her head. All right?
Wow.
There
you go.
These voices were right. So she was referred to a neurosurgeon. Because the tumour was large and threatening, they did the surgery immediately, and the tumour was successfully removed. But something else weird happened then. The story didn't end right there and then. something happened in the recovery room. As she slowly woke up from the anesthesia, the voices returned one last time. And they said, "We are pleased to have helped you. Goodbye." Amazing. So from that point onwards, she actually made a full uneventful recovery. Her psychiatric symptoms, delusions, hallucinations, everything vanished along with the massive tumour. Now, Dr. Azione actually lost touch with her for about a decade, but then he decided to publish the case 12 years later after receiving a surprise telephone call from AB just to wish him a Merry Christmas and to report she was perfectly healthy and completely free of the voices.
Wow.
So, how does science account for hallucination acting as an expert diagnostic clinician? So when Dr. Azione published this in the British Medical Journal, it did spark a bit of a civil war between
I can imagine.
experts. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So there were those people who thought they were open to paranormal and spiritual explanations. They thought that maybe it was telepathic communication or guardian angels telling her that she had the mass, or there were two well-meaning spirits who did once work at the Great Ormond Street Hospital, and they intervened to save her life. But then there were the others who had a very rigid rationalist thought of what would have happened, and their explanation is just as fascinating because the medical consensus emerged that the tumour itself was generating symptoms, and it says that we know that the intracranial lesions in the frontal lobe tumours, they can actually alter a person's psychiatric state. So
that's right.
So it can cause hallucinations or shifts in personality. So the theory is that the tumour, as it grew to the significant size and began pressing against AB's brain, and then it kind of caused a bit of discomfort or unconscious awareness that something was wrong. But because she had no medical training, her conscious couldn't articulate this, obviously, but her subconscious mind took the data in her head that there was something wrong in her brain, and the brain constructed a story, and somehow voices came from her brain. But what about the address? What about the CT department? How did she know?
That's a lot of questions.
It is. And psychiatrists suggested that maybe she's unconsciously absorbed this information through her life. She may have read an article about the hospital. She may have passed the building. She could have caught a medical broadcast on the radio. So normally this information is buried in your brain, but the pressure from the tumour has somehow managed to get able to tell her all this information. So, so the tumour, through causing these symptoms, was able to manifest as voices telling her there was something wrong, which is absolutely amazing. And I thought, let me look up and see if there's been any more development on this. But so far she's been well. And there was a couple of theories that came up about this. So there was something called cryptomnesia, which is the voices told AB that they used to work at the Great Ormond Street Hospital, and modern analysis suggests that she likely read an article, as I mentioned, and, the tumour began causing a psychosis. Her brain utilizes buried memory to build a believable, comforting persona. And then there's another theory, the interoception. So it's your brain's subconscious perception of the body's internal state. And being a large meningioma, even though she lacked the classic symptoms like headaches or blurred vision, the mass was actively shifting in her brain's midline. So doctors believed that the brain knew the physical pressure was there, but she had no medical training, and her subconscious translated that raw data into the brain itself.
Oh my goodness me.
So that to me was just shocking and amazing. It's a little bit similar to sometimes like when you're starting to feel a little bit off, and I've had it where I go, okay, I'm going to be sick this week.
That is true.
No, seriously, that's true. An inkling that something's wrong in your body. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel maybe our brain does talk to us a lot more than we realize. We're so busy in our day that we don't listen to it. So maybe this is just an extreme case of that. And I just thought, wow.
Two things I have to say about this story. One is it reminds me of Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World. There was that episode about the flu and how the flu germs can make you want to be a little bit more social. They can influence your behavior to be a bit more social so that obviously they can spread to other people, right? So not like they're actively conscious and controlling you, but there's a science of this, of how the germs somehow make you want to be around people because then you can spread the germs. That's all. Anyway, as you're going through that, I guess it's true that there's so much we don't know about the human brain and how it can respond to data, I guess. Because I was thinking as you were talking about this story, it's probably that she was aware of the hospital. She was aware of something. Because, am I right in saying the brain stores a lot of information, even though we can't recall everything like a computer.
Yeah.
But the thing is, sometimes an emotion will trigger a memory.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Like, for example, when we're watching a quiz show and like we watch every evening and a question will come up and for some reason you know the answer. It's like, how do I know? I know this answer, but I don't remember why.
Why?
From something, a book you read, something you saw, things like that,
Yeah, definitely.
That's really fascinating.
That is so fascinating, Caroline. Yeah, wow.
Be nice to your brain.
Well, true. That's true. I understand the both sides. You say it's a great analogy to have a civil war because you got the scientists who believe in the spiritual and then you have the scientists who want to find more the truth and the facts and trying to find is it real or not.
What do the empirical studies show? Things like that.
Look, either way,
experimentation.
That's what science is. And Caroline, it's the word why. And finding out the reason. And you get, like us in our faith, we go to the same destination but on different roads. And then scientists do the same thing and they work together. And that's the main thing, that they're working together, not trying to clash. Please, people. Just work together and find it.
What adds more legitimacy to the story for me is that she then didn't try and monetize it.
That was correct.
Write a book, might tell all about how my brain speaks.
Spirits visited me and told me that.
Exactly right.
Sunday,
right. My
on 60 Minutes.
My close connection with God or something. No, she didn't do that. She just went and lived her life.
It sounded pretty traumatic.
Wow. This would have been a very difficult situation to go through.
You have some voice in your head and you think, is this right or wrong? And that journey. Whew.
Thank God she found herself in the place where she needed
to be.
It was because of the help from her brain.
Exactly.
Right. Fascinating. All right, we'll wrap it up there because this episode is going to end up becoming an epic.
And so epic.
We sometimes get in a bit of trouble for making that long. So
it's an epic. Well, it's so epic.
I know. Yeah. That's it. It is. So we'd love to thank you so much for joining us on episode 155 of the Catholics of Oz. And before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Catholics of Oz. So today we want to thank John G, Amanda M, Robert B, Peter H, and Lenora G. Through their generous donations at givestarquest.com, they make it possible for the Catholics of Oz and all of the other great shows on StarQuest to continue. You can join them by visiting givestarquest.com. And don't forget to keep us and the network in your prayers as well, please. We really appreciate that. Also, we'd love to know your thoughts about the topics we've discussed today, especially any thoughts that your brain might have told you to share with us. So please listen to your brain and share those. And anything, maybe you've had an experience with the YOUCAT, using it, reading it yourself, how it's helped you with your faith, please do share because we love those stories and those experiences as well. You can send us feedback by visiting sqpn.com/Oz. You can find the socials we're connected to there, and you can also find our show notes and links for today's episode. While you're on the SQPN website, don't forget to sign up for the Insiders Club newsletter, sqpn.com/about/newsletter. And you can find the network and connect with us on all the different socials. So just search for SQPN or StarQuest Media, and you will find us and the other shows there. And if you want to get directly in touch with us, sqpn.com/Discord. There's the Discord channel for the network, and we do interact with that from time to time. We have our own Facebook page, facebook.com/Catholics of Oz. You can also connect with us there. Or if you want to send us a good old email, Catholics of Oz, spelled OZ, @sqpn.com. Caroline, thank you so much for being part of episode 155 today.
Thank you very much, and I hope you are listening to your brain.
Wow.
That's the moral
That
of
is the moral of the story, I think. Yeah, just listen to your brain. It's like, wow. Wow.
Thank you so much for being part of the show.
Awesome.
As
It's
well.
been great, guys. Just to recap that it's known as the Sir Doug Nicholas round, which is the Indigenous round for the AFL, Australian Aussie football, and he is a former Indigenous player and a former state governor. Now, if you need to know more about him, just Google him and you'll find out more about that. But yeah, it's been a great. Caroline, Lindsay. My brain's just going, hey, this is just chill. Let's just relax and get back again. That was such a great topics, guys. Great topics. Awesome.
Amazing. All right. And once again, I'm Lindsay Sant. And thank you so much for listening to episode 155 of the Catholics of Oz on StarQuest.
Here's another show on the StarQuest Network you're sure to enjoy. Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World. Find the show wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/mysterious. We'd like to thank Patrick McCaffrey of Moonshadow Studios for editing this episode. To have your audio edited professionally and with care, check out more of Patrick's work at moonshadowstudios.biz. That's moonshadowstudios.biz.